And here they come. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, Nancy, nice to see you.
Likewise. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm in New York City. I gather you're back east,
Yeah,
back
I'm back.
on this side of the pond.
Yeah, I'm back to the salt mines.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm back. Very
Great.
busy, extremely busy, but
Well,
back.
that's what happens. I don't know what they're thinking.
I know, I know.
Ah, lots of people. Hello, Jimmy. Hello, Charlie. Hello, Paula.
Hello.
Hello, everybody.
Glad to see you, Jimmy. This is likely to be a short meeting. And I'm now going to switch to my computer. So see you there. And good morning, Adam. And
Good morning, John.
Michael.
And Nancy, Cole, Charlie, Jimmy, and Michael.
So this is going to be a shorter meeting unless some long discussion starts up, and I'm going to be leaving it soon because I'm going up to the, what's it now called, the Columbia Climate School for a presentation on where is regenerative agriculture heading. I'm in New York City this week for Climate Week and have rendezvoused with several ERA members who understandably are therefore not here this morning. But Russ Spear is in town, Jamaica's in town. I think Zuzka is coming in tomorrow. Rob Gillette is in town. And like that. I saw Tosa Sultani yesterday at a very interesting presentation on rights of nature. But that's me. Cole is going to cover the bulk of this meeting. And actually, Cole, are you prepared to just start moderating now?
Sure, I can take it if you need to get going.
I'll stick around for a while, but this way I'll be able to leave gracefully.
Okay.
Hello, Michael. Michael's got his hand up already.
Oh, yeah. You ought to give a quicker report than that, John. I mean, a little bit longer report on the Climate Week there. How, what's it like? I'd like to hear a short report.
Sure.
Come on.
Okay. So I've been to 3 events as well as a few encounters. One was at the Ethical Culture Society, and it began with a Latino indigenous hostess who was very charismatic, talking about transformation. Then came Bill McKibben, who gave, one of these very well-pointed and I'm afraid at this point misguiding presentations about carbon, fossil fuels, greenhouse gases, warming, therefore climate disaster, therefore the need to stop fossil fuel production. And I realized that it's such a straightforward and conversation dominating conversation that an argument that I'm sort of working on my own critique, which is before there were fossil fuels, there was deforestation. And before there were people, at this meeting, I learned the name Eunice Foote, who actually was a suffragette who was the first person to show that different gases produce different degrees of greenhouse effect. But before Eunice Foote, there was, and I'd like help finding this quote, there was the Indian chief who said, when the last tree is felled and the last grassland has dried up and the forests are down and the rivers are dried up, at that point, humanity will recognize that they can't live without nature. I'm paraphrasing it, but some of you will have found that quote, which I would like to argue is an even earlier scientific recognition of the true problem, and that the solution, therefore, is not merely to stop fossil fuels, but to restore nature. Marius, and pleased to see you. It's great to have you back with us.
John, may I insert a quick anecdote about Bill McKibben?
Sure.
In, I guess it was 2000, fall of 2009, Bill McKibben came to Massachusetts and led a march on the State House from MIT. And I marched with him, so he could not escape. And I said, we have to do something else. And he said, okay, well, come up and see me in Middlebury. And then he said, we'll give you 15 minutes. Jim Laurie and I and another colleague drove up there in the middle of the winter and said, no way, you're giving us 15 minutes, 2 hours. And so he gave us 2 hours, and we talked at him and somewhat with him and gave him lots of material to look over. And he actually wrote a pretty good article on holistic plant grazing for Orion magazine, and you can look it up. And we had some exchanges since, and none of it got through.
Right. Well, I think at other times he said that's just too complicated a story. He has a simple story, but needless to say, it's a problem. Anyway,
Yeah, I think
Michael,
we have a pretty simple story too.
well, right. I think we have to make it as simple as possible, and we have to somehow allow people to see the differences between ours and theirs. I'll share my diagram and attempt at a presentation, but I'm sort of itching to try to do a deconstruction and reconstruction. Michael, in answer to your question, much of that event and looking at the New York Climate Week listing of events, it is, as you might fear, mostly about energy transition. People are also talking about blockchain and all of this stuff, but you know, New York is the World Finance Center, and everyone here, this is my critique, many people are here to make a buck. And that's partly because that's how they think change actually happens. And arguably it is, although it's also how stasis happens. Suffice it to say, I came away from that first meeting feeling that we have a real problem, and you hear me wrestling with it. But yesterday morning, I went to this presentation on the rights of nature. Atosa Sultani, a number of people from Ecuador, including a tribal leader in full regalia who was very, very savvy and gave a good talk about the emerging movement. And that was quite encouraging. The rights of nature may be another angle to come at this with, because of course, these people, I was pleased to say, recognize that humans are nature too, and that it's not just indigenous humans. So by talking about the rights of nature, it's potentially possible to reframe the conversation without getting down in the energy dirt. And that's an emerging movement that really seems to be bubbling up right now. Countries around the world are adopting rights of nature laws, and while no one knows how they're going to play out in practice, it's an interesting rallying point. I'll pause because Nancy has a comment on that thread.
Yeah. I teach at a community college, as you know, and I approach my classes as though people know absolutely nothing. I mean, nothing. And so I have to start from the beginning. And I am finding ways of explaining the complexity that we have facing us in very straightforward ways that students understand and resonate with. And so I would be very happy to work with you, John, or anyone else in terms of putting together a way of talking about the issues that we have facing us and doing it in a way that ordinary people who know absolutely nothing about the subject can connect with. And I have found that the starting point is not talking about something like the rights of nature and so forth, but talking about how did you feel this summer with the heat? Just
Right.
starting where people are at and
Yeah.
what they're sensing and feeling, and then begin constructing how and why that's happening and what needs to be done about it.
Very interesting. Yeah, my comment to a number of people at the meeting was that while I was quite energized by what they were doing, I think for many of the people we most want to reach, rights and nature are both abstractions for those of us who live in concrete cities, et cetera. And you're right, temperature is one way of grounding people. And I think backyards and earth and soil and just getting involved with nature is another way of grounding the discussion. And in the, I was going to say in the concrete, but you get what I'm trying to say.
Right.
And
But I see those as
all-
building blocks. The
I
starting
agree.
point is how did you feel? And why did you feel
Mhm.
that way?
okay,
You know, and I'm not talking about emotions. I'm talking about the physical thing of being hot and trying to figure out how to cool down.
that's great. To finish my report, because remember, I'm trying to get out of here pretty soon, and yet I want to get an update from Uganda, who are not often with us, so I'm delighted to see them. And also, I want to give Jimmy a chance to meet the group and introduce himself. Well, that's so, Michael, that's the flavor around here. I'm going to this regenerative agriculture presentation up at the Columbia Climate School, which is just a few blocks up from where I am. And we'll meet some people that Judith has introduced us to. But it's like that. Meanwhile, there is going to be a brunch tomorrow morning involving Katie and Jamaica and the other ERA members that I mentioned. And that is my expanded report on New York City Climate Week.
Thank you.
Thank you. Cole, I'll hand it back to you.
Thank you. I guess I'll pass it over to Marius to give us an update on how things are going in Uganda and just to see how you are.
Ambia tunashukuru tena kwa siku mingi, manajema entretemps, tunaendelesha kazi yetu polepole na tunashukuru sana paski kukuwa engagement ba jeune mu communauté yetu juu ya restauration ya climat.
Yeah, so we are very happy to be here today. You know, we have spent long without being with you in the meeting. As times the meeting would be very late here and we could not always make it to attend with you. But our work has been going on well. We've been engaging, more especially the youth, in the restoration activities, and we're still pushing on.
Ambia na bale ba jeune balianza leo formation, tuko na formation au juu ya permaculture na regenerative agriculture na kuangalia kuleta masolution fulani juu ya engagement yabo mu communauté na juu ya kupanda miti. Tutaanza kampanya ya kupanda miti ya ba jeune mu communauté yetu.
And currently we are training the youth and they began the training today about permaculture and regenerative agriculture. We also want to bring in more youth so that we can start the campaign of planting trees, because we want to start the plantation of trees very soon.
Na kufuatana ile programu ya regenerative agriculture tulifanya kwanza, tunashukuru ba membre ya era participer contribution juu ya kulancer les programmes mwingine ma village. Tuligabula mambeko mu Kajura, village ya Kajura tuligabulia 50 plus 15 ingine ilirudisha mambeko. Kwa sasa tushafika mu 65 agriculteurs tuligabulia na tuna espérer kule décembre ou janvier tutagabulia wengine 65 ça fait itakuwa 130 yenye tutakuwa tushafanya huko saison mbili.
And on the other hand, we want to thank some of the members of ERA for the contribution, because we managed to distribute seats to more 50 people. So because that seats for 15, we also had to include other 50. So now we have 65 beneficiaries that we have so far given the seats, and we hope in January during another season we shall be able to give more, because the program is going on well.
Tunashukuru wote walikontribue baera, tunashukuru kumobilize, tunashukuru ekipe yote parce que walituakompanye, walitupatia na mashauri na kule kidogo yao walifika mkomunote na mafoto ndazituma bataziona, na c'est vrai tunafurahi sana na tunasema Mungu awabariki kujila komunote.
And we thank you, John Shule, in particular, for mobilizing all the people who managed to contribute. And the contribution really reached each and everyone in the community. So on their behalf, we are saying so much, we are so much thankful for that contribution, and thankful for all the efforts. May God bless you and thank you.
Na kwa mwisho bila ongeza tu remercier Mike Omai parce que tuko natayarisha sommet ya le 24 ya FLP ile itakuwa mu Oktoba. On kwa sasa tuko natayarisha na tunajua combien de fois ki ba jeune na communauté yote kumobiliser, na c'est vrai tutafanya mzuri sana.
Maybe lastly, we forgot to inform others on we are preparing parts of entertainment on the summits of Earth Repair this October together with the Michael. We are happy that it's there. So the youth are preparing this some African music and dance. That's the we are just entertaining with African song. So thank you.
That is terrific. Michael.
Couple of questions for Marius. Did you get that money yet? Did you? Hopefully, we're trying to get Marius some money for the youth choir, and it's been really hard, but I hope you get it soon. If not already, it should be there waiting now. No.
C'est parce qu'il pas ça, il sait pas. Tuko obligé va consolider dans le remix, prendre voici ma station sur ce moment pour moi poster.
Yeah, because of those difficulties in the transaction, that's why we opted, maybe if possible, use MoneyGram or Western Union, because as if what remit has become a complication, but we have not received yet so far. We're still waiting for Brenda.
Michael, I did manage to wire some money to Marius back in the day. So if you're still having trouble, let me know and I'll look up whatever channel I used.
Okay, great. Yeah, we might need more help. World Remit canceled my account, and now we've sent Western Union money yesterday, but we're scratching around.
Okay.
One last question for Marius. Marius, my guess is you speak about 4 African languages to be able to work in camp. How many languages do you have to work in?
Ingine kisha mwisho tunasema kama utakuwa lugha hii. So ile malugha tumisha lugha ngapi?
Bon, itakuwa lugha utakuwa Kinyarwanda, Kirundi na Kiswahili. Najua vile wanarepresenter wa Kongomani, wa Nyarwanda na wa Sudani bo walisema wao watacheza parce que lugha yao nguvu kutraduire. Mais ile manyimbo yote itakuwa traduire na nani na itakuwa ma titre itakuwa na traduire hapo na tutatumia text hapo.
Yeah. So we shall use 4 languages. Kiswahili, Kinyarwanda, Kirundi, and Kigambela. But we shall make sure we keep writing down in English, translating the song so that you can pick the meaning. But those are some of nationalities that should be represented. But for you also to understand, we shall first have to send you the lyrics, and also as they are singing, we shall be writing down to interpret what's their meaning in the song that they'll be singing.
Tena kutakuwa danse parce que mingi itakuwa ni danse, mais na message itapita niveau ya nani ya ile ma message, mais ni lugha 3 ndio tutatumikisha tu. Ndio kuepuka juni na ndio chanson 3 zibataima. Kila mtu mu communauté yao mu lugha yao.
But now part of dancing will be more than that, the part of music, because we want each nationality to use their own culture, to use their own language, and to use their own music. in representing their own culture, and because we have different African cultures, so want each one to be using their own culture, the dance, the dressing, and even the song.
Great.
Okay,
I want to do a brief screen share because I have a request of Marius and a tribute to Charlie Shore. This is, of course, the big map to save the future. And what I want you to notice is that we now have the beginnings, some polygons appearing. This is some of the territory that Rob DeLake is working on. Marius, we are very interested and proud of the work that you're doing in Uganda at Nakavale. And so I'd like to ask you to send us a picture of a map with just lines drawn around your territory or even the particular farms, families that you're working with. And if you can send that with a picture of the family and a story or their names, I would like to have those as well-documented points on the map. Because we are beginning to enter the stage where we're going to start having not only pins on the map, but also territories. And Charlie, thank you for your work on that also.
Ndio, mimi nasi tunashukuru sana.
Thank you very much too.
Thank you. Cole, back to you.
Thank you again. I guess I'll pass it now to Jimmy to introduce himself and talk a little bit about who he is and what he's been working on, and just say hello to the group. And you're on mute.
Good morning, everybody. I have interacted with most of you already. Had a conversation with Adam and Nancy a few months ago, and several of the others of you were in the Jim Lowry's course last fall, which I was part of there. So we're already fairly familiar with each other. What I came to Bio for Climate searching for stuff about water. I had been in the small water cycle. I had been turned on to it by Walter Yenny in a podcast, Investing in Regenerative Agriculture. And that led me to you, and where I have been now for over a year, on and off. So what I have been focused on most recently is the idea of needing a collaborative, open source type project like Wikipedia, but which is focused on systems change. The main systems change being needed that we need to get ourselves under control here, get the feedback loops in place globally so that we support the biosphere rather than cutting ourselves out of it. So that's a longer story, and I won't go into all of that now. But I think that we need to constantly keep in mind what are the elements of the systems and that we need to change, and thinking of changing systems because systems are the reason that everything exists. And unless we change the systems, we won't ultimately get what we want. So I'll leave it at that.
That's great. Thank you. If anybody has any follow-up questions, now would be a good time. If not, we can press on here. All righty.
Well, one additional comment, clarify that what I just said is that what I see most focus on in regards to our biospheric crises is technology and how to change the technology, principally in regard to energy, but also in nature-based things, looking at, how, the actual physical things that need to be done. And that's good. That has to be done. That's part of it. But also, what going up a level in the system or up to the top, what is causing us to do the wrong things, and what we need to change in those systems to do the right things, so that we stop cutting ourselves out of nature and help to support it.
Absolutely. You're among good company here, I think.
I just want to thank Jimmy for bringing up reintroducing the concept of systems thinking to address this entire dynamic.
Alrighty. Just to give a couple of quick other introductions for people who are contenders to join the Alliance but actually couldn't be here today. We also have Kurt Vaughn of Borderlands and Sarah Schur of 1,000 Landscapes. Both of them, I'm sure most people are familiar with, and you can read more on our conversations with them in the agenda and the notes document. Unless there are any objections, they'll be joining us hopefully soon at one of our future meetings, and they can tell you a little bit more about themselves.
They're both very interesting people. We had good conversation, and they're going to become de facto members of the Alliance unless someone views the video or has some other red flags to raise. So a reminder that that's our process. Someone also asked, how do we invite new people to join the Alliance? And the answer is, frankly, tell them about us, give them a little bit of information, and CC Cole and me, and then we have a routine by which we will follow up. We will schedule an interview. Those interviews are actually posted in advance on our calendar, which is visible on our homepage. And so you're more than welcome to show up for one of those. You will. We have one than we do in the town hall. And that also then becomes a record of who these people are for the vetting process, which I have just reviewed.
Thank you for that, John. Unless anyone has any questions or anything like that, you can continue on here. If you do have any other questions about the process, feel free to email me anytime, and I can fill in any gaps that there might be. It looks like John has dipped out, so I'll continue on from here. There he is again. The final and really only major event on our agenda now is, you may have seen in your inboxes a survey that we sent out along with the agenda and announcement for this meeting. Essentially what we're looking to do is hear back from all of our members and see how we can kind of improve and where we can gear our actions towards. So meeting the needs of our members and making sure that these meetings that we're hosting are of interest to you and of everybody else. So if you wouldn't mind taking time to just fill that out, we are going to be reviewing them. It's all completely anonymous. And if you have any issues or anything else you'd like us to be aware of, that would be a good place to do that as well. Philip, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to go back to Sarah Scher. Her primary affiliation is, believe is the founder of Eco Agricultural Partners, which is a big heavyweight in this space.
Mm-hmm.
Adam, Gina, and I met with her a number of years ago and had a very good conversation, but she was looking for partners that had much deeper pockets than we had at the time. So I'm very glad to see her joining with us. I think she'll be a big contribution.
Yeah, absolutely. We came to her from the 1,000 Landscapes project, which is their most recent development. They're very interested in what we're doing. Unfortunately, they're very busy. And so having them at these meetings might be a little bit difficult, but we have them in our roster now and in the directory. So anybody who'd like to be connected or have further introductions, we can set that up. It was a great conversation. So if you want to watch the recording, please do so. And Michael, I'll pass that on to you.
Yeah, you announced the survey a while back, not too long back, and I filled it out. I know Amy did. And I was just curious, just in terms of how many people have actually filled it out so far. That's sort of a telling thing of your responsiveness of people. Did you get like a third respond, a half, a fourth? I'm just kind of curious
Yeah,
what the numbers are, a little report.
I haven't actually been able to check them yet. I wanted to kind of let it go out and get some responses before I went ahead and started tallying things up. But let me double check
Okay.
right now for you. So right now we've gotten about 10 responses on it, which is about what we were expecting to have in this amount of time. Lower than we would hope for, but not unexpected. So what we would like to see is maybe more conversation in the chat or in the email thread about, taking the survey and giving feedback. We're probably going to be taking a more direct approach if we don't see more within the next coming days of emailing people directly, asking them to fill it out, so on and so forth. And John, I see you're still here, so if you want to add anything to that, we absolutely.
I will point out that it's an anonymous survey, so we're really looking for unvarnished suggestions and
And there he goes. I think essentially what he was trying to say is that, let's let him try again. Your connection's a little poor there, John. And you're on mute.
I'm going to switch to phone and I'm going to walk, but my only suggestion, if you can hear me, is we don't know who has answered the survey, but if you forward it.
I'm going to guess and say that if you forward it around, we can get more responses that way and keep it anonymous. Any questions or comments on that process so far?
Once more, with respect to John's communication, technology demonstrates to us that we cannot rely on it.
Absolutely. I'm going to give John just a minute to try to call in and see if he has anything else to add. But besides that, we can go into quick reports if anyone has anything they'd like to share. And if not, then we might be able to just end the meeting early. Nancy.
Yeah. For this group, most people have not heard this. I just came back from France about 3 weeks ago. And when there, I connected with the mayor of the village where I stay, which is down in the south of France. It's a village called Mauriès-las-Illes. It's a French Catalonian village, and it's one of 10 different villages that comprise an area commune. And I was able to connect with the mayor and talk with him about the very deep problem of there being dryness and lack of water. I was there for 6 weeks. It rained 3 times. 2 days, it's not even worth having mentioned that it rained because there was so little rain. There was only 1 day when we had some serious rain. So we have an enormous dry problem in that area. And people talk about it, but people have not been doing very much about it. So the long and the short of it, after a couple of meetings with him, he invited me to do a conference. I'm going to be there in March, presenting some material. A lot of the material that I presented about small water cycles, biotic pumps, Miyawaki forests, they had not heard of at all. And I'm discovering from colleagues in that area now that other mayors outside of the commune are beginning to write letters to the editor in local newspapers about the seriousness of the lack of water. So I'm doing a lot of work right now, finding materials and getting them translated into French to share with people there, and working on developing this conference. Another thing that I'm involved with that's coming up very soon is a retreat that will be happening at Agraria in Ohio, looking at bioregionalism and how bioregionalism is deeply connected with ecological restoration. So those are things I'm working on these days, as well as teaching my full-time job at a community college.
That's great, Nancy. Thank you. One of the conversations I actually just had recently with John was pertaining to our social media presence and what we've been referring to as the megaphone. And I asked, we're trying to figure out how we can be more effective with our online presence. And I think creating a campaign where we target specific political figures and try to get their attention on social media, I think that might be a useful, excuse me one second. Hi, Zuzka. That might be a useful application of our network online, at the very least. Michael, go ahead.
Well, I will, maybe I'll hold off on a second here. So Zuzka, we just had John give a brief report on his, what he thought of the Climate Week in New York, but I know you're there as well. So maybe we'll just segue into you giving a little report on what you see happening there. Do you see much hope out of, and do you see much, how many allies are you finding, kind of thing? If you would give a little report, that would be nice for me, for us.
I'm sorry, I'm not there this week. I will be there just one day tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Well, sorry then. I knew I saw your name there at one point. But last time you were able, you sort of had to cut out before you got your turn. So let's put you right up and let you give a introduction right at this point, so we don't lose you again.
So we're just introducing ourselves. That's what we are doing.
I think what we're looking for is a bit of an update on anything you've been working on, Zuzka, and just kind of, how are you?
Okay. Good, thank you. My apologies. Right now I am working on a translation of Jan Pokorny's book about the role of the plants in the plants and the solar system in the urban planning and municipal decisions and the farming decisions. So right now I'm just working on the translation of that book.
That's awesome. Michael, did you have anything else you wanted to update us on?
Oh, yeah. But since I have Zuzka right here, are you still planning on, are you still able to give a workshop on the water work of, your work and Michelle Kravchik on our Global Earth Repair Summit?
Yes, I understand it was moved. The date was canceled for October and moved to later on. Am I right?
Well, we had considered that, but we, so I'll give you an update as well as everyone else. We were behind where we wanted to be. Things have not been going smooth. It's not been easy, but we decided to continue forward, that we would lose more momentum by postponing than by putting something together that was maybe smaller and not as grand as we wanted. We had a very big plan for our Global Earth Repair Summit, and we can't, it's too big for us to deliver because of staff levels, which are small but growing, and funding. But we're still moving forward. So who knows? I might still postpone it in the next 30 days. It's really, it's really tight, I would say, but we're still moving forward. We're still seeing if we can pull this together. So if that does happen, then you can still fit us in. I know it's again, really late to be changing things back and forth.
If it's in October, I could do it. If it was gonna be in the spring, Michal was gonna do it himself. So yeah, can you remind me the dates, please?
Okay, October 21st to 24th, 4 days, 3 days of it online. 1 day hands-on wherever people are. So our current idea is that pull something off in October 20, that date, and then do something again in April and do something a bigger and more what we want. So that's the current thinking. I will say that we have Precious Ferry in Africa ready to do a big Africa program with speakers from around Africa. We have Ursilia Sahores, who is would run a Latin American program in Spanish, and the ecosystem restoration camps would run a program on working with plants and drought in dry areas. So that would be interesting to Nancy, for instance. So we have, just between those things, quite a bit of content. So yeah, I wish I could just say everything was roses, but it's been tough to pull together, but we're moving forward. So you're all invited. And so here's a question for the whole group. How many of you were thinking of attending this? I guess you could raise your hands physically, or I know Marius is really on board. And I see that it's nice to see a sort of a show of support from here. So yeah, so I'm having lots of meetings with my staff, and we're moving forward. So if
Do
we
you
pull
have an
something off,
agenda
it
put
still will be
together?
great.
Do you have an agenda put together, working agenda so that we could see it?
No, we have a timeline of what happens when, and the one on our website right now has been revised and not updated. So right now I can't really give you that. It's going to be probably 2 weeks before it happens that we'll have, here's when this speaker is, the list of
Right.
speakers and exactly their times.
Could you put the website up in the chat, please?
Okay. And I will also say that if I guess if there's time here, that another big part of what we're going to be doing is not just having one speaker after another, one speaker in front and everybody else listens. We're going to have a lot of small group sessions, what's called an unconference, where a lot of people can work together, talk together, make plans, and create working alliances and things. We'd rather see something like this where there's conversations going on more time than there is one person in front talking and everybody else listening. So that will be a critical part here. So maybe I will stop here and type in we actually have 2 websites right now, but I'm just going to, so I'll put them both in here, but we're probably going to be consolidating them. So that's my report. If there's no questions, we can go on to Paula.
Thank you for that. I do have a quick question, Paula, if you don't mind. For those working groups that will branch out after the meetings, do you have people who are going to be running and kind of guiding the conversations in those groups, or is it simply putting everybody together in, say, a Zoom room and letting them figure it out for themselves?
There'll be facilitation for at least some of them. We can't, guarantee facilitation for all of them. But we do have an overall facilitator named Ryan Rising of the Permaculture Action Network, who's really familiar with how do you get groups of people to work together in a impromptu fashion and have good things come out of it. So it's not just like everybody's going to be thrown in a willy-nilly into a group of 8 other people and there's no rhyme or reason. People will be choosing which topic they're going to be in a group about. So there'll be a lot more, you might say, guidance and formality, even though it's small groups. There is guidance.
I see. Thank you. Paula, thank you for waiting.
Thanks, Cole.
Can you put your microphone down?
How's that?
Perfect.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Cole. Thanks all of you for being here. There were just 3 things I wanted to update on. The first was the Milwaukee Foresting Project in Cambridge, where we now have a commitment from Cambridge to add a forest in the city each year, and we'll be planting the second forest in a poorer neighborhood than the last one that we did in an economic justice neighborhood, and looking to see whether we can bring in people from housing projects and other. It's a very diverse area. We'd like to draw in people from many different communities if we can. But in addition to that, we're getting contacted by other cities and towns in Massachusetts and asked to speak at several universities, University of Pennsylvania, Boston University, and it's a moment when people really want to hear about being able to quickly bring much more dense green new forests right into the cities. So that's a piece of work that seems to be expanding as rapidly as we have people to carry things out. And Maya finished her training as a Sugi Fellow and will bring more experience to each of the foresting projects that happen. The second thing is the GBH series, and actually Michael, Zuzka, and I are working on. There are four events for the next 4 months coming up, but Zuzka and I happen to be working on one that we hope will happen on the first day of your conference, which is October 21st. And Zuzka's waiting to get final word from Anastasia, whether that date will work for her. Otherwise, it'll have to go into October. But she and Jan Bukuni will be speaking on the role of vegetation. And Zuzka, you can give a more complete description of what that will be like, but that will actually be hopefully midday on the 21st, midday Eastern Daylight Time on the 21st. And I wish that there were a way to hook it in to the Earth Repair Conference, but I don't know whether that's possible with GBH. But at any rate, and another talk coming up is with 3 members of the ERA, Nathan Hugh, Jessica Parfrey, and Koki Wildcat. And John is going to be moderating that. And I'm not quite sure how the title is going to be framed, but at any rate, it'll be good to have that generation of our members who are apparently doing fairly similar work in their areas. And and this will be the first time we'll probably have advance notice of a series of 4 months that we'll be able to put up, which is striking. We usually can only do it 1 month at a time, but the people who want to be speaking in the series are growing, and we certainly welcome hearing ideas. from other people. Don't make any promises to anybody. Just let me know if there is someone and some things that you want to have presented in the GBH series. And last but very much not least, Marius, I missed hearing the date of your next event. But I want to say that, yeah, Tanya and I really enjoyed being part of the presentation on Youth Night. And I want it was really inspiring to see the young people wanting to learn about more about agroecological farming. And also, Marius, I'm following up, at least in my head, with a request from one of the young people that we send music and poetry to them because they'd like to know what kinds of things we would want to share with them. So working on that, and the ERA just met a group that is working in Senegal, and I don't have the name of their camp. Adam, do you remember that from? Okay, so they are doing remarkable work in Senegal that and I've already indicated that I'm going to connect you with them. They want to know about Nakavali, and I think that there might be some good complementarity and that they may have some ideas that would be very useful to you.
Paula, are you
And
thinking of
that-
Junior? I forget the pronunciation of his last name.
That is who I mean, and
I believe that's Save Tomorrow. Is there? I'll double check right now, but I believe that's their group.
this was actually an event that was put on by Elders Climate Action by somebody that we know who's actually a supporter of Bio for Climate, who's who's been working for 3 years, I think now, with this. It's more than a group. It's a number of villages. And does that ring the same bell, Cole? Hold, if I will exit for a minute and find the information about that and come back.
Yeah, I'll double check my notes. I don't know if that's still the same, but I will look into it and I can confirm or deny if I find anything.
Yeah, actually, I can get to it also quickly. And
Paula, you're on mute.
So, yeah, she said was gonna look something up. So maybe, but she had asked Zuzka to report on something there.
so the presentation that Anastasia and Jan Pokorny are doing, Zuzka, can you fill people in a little bit on what that will be?
It will be about biotic pump, but I don't have that date confirmed because when Anastasia does research in the field in Siberia, there is no contact with them. So this time we got lucky. She got back after 2 weeks. Otherwise, they can be lost in the woods there for weeks, 6 weeks, easy. I am actually thinking maybe I will ask them to choose a different date if Michael is definitely going with the global summit. I think that would be like, I don't want to steal the audience from one or the other. I think I should ask Anastasia and Jan about a different date.
Well,
I don't.
Zuzka, we're meeting this afternoon, so why don't we?
Okay.
follow up then. Yeah.
Let me throw out the idea that could you reach both audiences at the same time? You know, do the GBH thing and somehow or another, our tech people can make it so that you're on one of our lists of things and people can go from ours over to listen to Anastasia and Jan at the same time, you know, as part of our program and part of your program. I don't know if that's feasible, but that would mean they would reach more people than otherwise and might bring the integration a little bit more with the group. So anyway, I propose that if technically possible.
Okay, let us know. Let us know. Ask the tech people.
I will.
That would be good.
So that means I should talk to Paula about what GBH is and the platform and that sort of thing. So Paula, we could have a offline conversation on that email. Well, yeah, she's on.
Still on
mute
mute,
here.
Paula.
Okay, thank you. No, it's not Junior, it's Usmani.
Oh, okay.
And actually, it was not an ERA connected event, but we certainly want to introduce them to the ERA. But Usmani Pam, who's with the Redis Eco Villages, he's part of the Eco Village movement. And but Redis is the part that's in West Africa. Possibly that's the name of, yeah, possibly all of Africa, but the only developed program that we know of is in Senegal. So,
Paula, did you hear my request to, I'll send you an email.
good, thanks, Michael.
Michael, did you have anything else you wanted to cover or update on?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment for Paula here that in regards to the Miyawaki Forest, there's a new movement in the US. I don't know the exact name, something like National Forest, National Park in Your Backyard. And I believe it's really getting popular. And so it's very similar. And another related idea, I have a friend in Kauai who has put together a decentralized botanic garden for the island. In other words, the botanic garden isn't just in one place, it's dispersed. So it's a dispersed botanic garden across. So these are all three ideas: National Park, Miyawaki Forest, and dispersed botanic gardens that people can use their backyards to be part of something greater. And I think that's also with ecosystem restoration. How do people do ecosystem restoration in their backyard? So I think this is a nice development that makes it easier for people to do something in their own yard.
I believe that group, are you thinking of the group Homegrown National Park?
That's probably it. Yeah.
Gotcha. I'll put a link in the chat here. Yeah, they're a great organization, and I believe we've pulled resources from them before, or at least I have, for learning materials with coursework and things like that.
That's Doug Tallamy's organization. And I believe his book was Bringing Nature Home, was a book that he put out that introduced people to the idea that there were tree species that really helped pollinators and insects in general, and those that didn't, and was rather remarkably important information on what we should be planting in the Northeast, which is actually, I think he's in Pennsylvania. I think he's
in Delaware.
Delaware.
But it's nationwide now.
Mhm. Right. Right. Marius.
Tunafurahi sana tena kuona parce que ça faisait si longtemps tumuone.
So we are very happy to see you, Paula. It has been a long time without having a look at you.
Na kufuatana na vile vinasema pale, c'est vrai, tuko na ile programme ya shi tunakia comprendre combien de fois qui est iko na ba expert na batu banayo matière na et pourtant communauté iko na besoin les ressources ya kupartager ba expérience na ndio maana tunakuya organiser ile maseminaire, mais tunakia jikuta ile maseminaire atukwe na batu na tunajikuta combien de fois iko na batu ya mingi iko na experience iko capable kupartager na kufundisha tena i community kwa ba jeune kwa ba mama kwa ba papa communauté mzima juu ya nani ya climate change.
Yeah, because now we have come to know that ERA has a lot of experts, and they are really very important, because even as we need their knowledge, we need their skills, and that's information they have, so that can also help our communities. We know you have very many contacts with very different people, and it will be important if at all some of those people can be linked to us, so that they also share the experience with us, so that we can also have the impact in where we are living.
Juu communauté yetu, bien sûr tuko na angalia gisi shepeki kufatana na experience yetu kufundisha ba jeune kuba mobiliser kubatia quand même bakuwe bakwanza bakteria kwanza mu cadre ya changement climatique ya kurestaurer climat. En même temps tuko na maprogramme zingine za shetu kwetu sheni Kabumbu na ni Soweto tuza Lomba ku niveau ya ERA, ku niveau ya Maiko, ku niveau ya kila mtu mwenye anaweza kuona ile ma connaissance na ma partenariat fulani kuangalia gisi wateza répondre au muhimu cadre ya kufundisha, cadre ya kujenga na cadre ya kuexecute ma projet fulani mu niveau hapa na Kivu.
So that's why it's our humble request to the whole team of ERA, to Paula, to Michael, and to anyone who is here. So if at all there is any support, like ideally the expert information from the expert or connection, that's so that those people can come also and implement some of their projects here, or when organize something like a seminar, they at least participate with us, so that their knowledge can be shared with the people here, so that people also keep identifying their potentials and keep making the impacts in our own communities here.
Ndio bajene hapa batu hapa biko na maresources, biko na le courage, biko na bidii na bataionesha kwa ile Oktobre kwa ile evenement ya nani na tutaangalia kufanya yetu tuna nani pour que boneshe mouvement ya boneshe courage ya mambo ya restauration ya climat, na ile processus biko na contribuer kupitia muhimu, kupitia maide, kupitia partage, kupitia kila kitu, na ndio maana si wote tushie tunasema asante na tunatumenia kwa kuwa seminaire zetu tunaangalia zielewa kukuza ba jeune, kukuza ba mama, kukuza ba papa, batu yote biko kurepresenter, na tunaangalia combien de fois que ERA itatuachilia itatunga mkono, Fripe itatuachilia itatunga mkono, Paula itatuachilia itatunga mkono, mais tuna besoin ya bale ba expert bale balimu bakuye batufundishe, bafundishe communauté tu, population communauté tu yanalisa kwenda mbele na asante.
Yeah, that's why we are putting our heads down to make sure the youth here and the women here, they represent the whole community here on that very day during the summit of Earth Repair, because we want to show the world the impacts that the refugees are doing in the restoration, the work that these people are doing, and these ones will be portrayed by small videos, by photos, showing some of the restoration work that people are here are doing. So we are very aware. ERA will continue supporting us. Paola, you are there, continue supporting us. Earth Repair, together with Michael, continue supporting us. But please keep advising us, keep teaching us, and keep showing us the correct direction whenever we are wrong. But thank you for your time, and may God keep blessing you.
Thank you. And I'm actually going to share into the chat right now document for the ERA directory. And if you see anyone on there who you would like to be connected to directly, feel free to email them or email me, and I can make an introduction or help facilitate that in any way. But it's great to have you guys here, and thank you for all the work that you've been doing as well. We don't have much else on the agenda. I see that Lee has joined us. So Lee, welcome. If you want to give a quick update and small introduction, we'd be happy to hear from you.
Yeah, apologies, my alarm didn't go off. It's early here in California. My name's Lee Golperiani. I am fairly new to the ERA. I joined because I'm friends with Judy Schwartz. I met Judy and John at a retreat a little over a year ago. I am a project manager professionally, and I have my own restoration site that's in backcountry San Diego. I just started my own foundation to do eco restoration work in Mesa Grande, San Diego area is our starting spot. And my foundation is called the Encino Foundation. And just this last week, we got our 501c3 approval. So very excited about that. So lots of work ahead, lots of work to do. I'm very grateful to be a part of this group and to learn from all of you and to share experiences.
Thank you, Lee. You actually joined us right at the tail end here. We have a bit of a shorter meeting today.
Oh, sorry. Well, hello, everyone.
So if
See
anyone
my
wanted-
waking up face.
But Cole, we should also thank Lee for the work that she did coordinating basically the survey that we're asking people to fill out. So Lee was
Yep.
very central to making that happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I have a corporate job that's funding all of these efforts. I work at Qualcomm. And so I run the enterprise project management office for them. And I have a lot of experience with facilitating large and diverse groups. So, and I do surveys a lot. So that's how that sort of came to be. John asked for some help and I jumped in.
Sorry, I have to leave.
Thank you.
Goodbye now.
See you, Nancy. Charlie, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk to Lee for a minute. I was in the process. I am with the ERA. I'm in the Washington D.C. area, and I'm responsible for our Big Map project. I don't know if you're familiar with that or not, but I was just about ready to contact you with regard to you, because you're familiar with the survey now. Apparently, if you could fill that out for us, and also provide us an outline of, you say it's a proposed site at this point, is that correct?
No, it's all set. It's I'm just in the planning phases. It's actually land that I own. I've filled out the polygons. And then the last time, but I submitted it. So it's 120 acres. And it's let's see, it's sort of remote, and on there I filled out the polygons and I hit submit. So, and then I could probably refine the information about the actual site as well.
Okay, great, because we do like to tell stories about each person and what their accomplishments are and so forth. So yeah, if you could flesh it out a little bit, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
no, it's a beautiful site. It's partially degraded. And then there's a lot that's untouched, but we're experiencing problems in California with the oak boring beetle. And wildfires have gone through there several times. So it has been burned and then kind of, come up on its own, but it needs help. And, there's a lot of opportunities. I would like it to be a demonstration site and then have further outreach in the area and actually help people do restoration is my ultimate goal.
Excellent. Thanks for your work.
Thank you for working on the big map.
Speaking of the big map, I did want to give a quick update on something that's a little bit more recent in development. I'm going to share my screen here. Is everyone with me on the map right now? I can't see anybody.
Yeah.
Perfect, thank you. So right at the top here where we have the nominate new entries, we actually have to change the text on this. Because if you click it and follow it, now what it leads you to is this survey form that essentially branches out based on what you would like to do. So if you see a site that you have or that has a mistake on it, feel free to select amend an existing site or personal profile. That'll take you to this quick form that lets you fix or update anything that's on your site or somebody else's. And then you can also select the third option here for multiple sites or projects, which essentially just brings you to a downloadable spreadsheet. You can fill out the information that way. And that way you're not going through and just submitting the same form for different sites over and over and over again. And as always, if you have any questions or concerns on anything like that, feel free to email myself or John, and we can address it. But aside from any questions or comments on that, I think we're all set here. Does anybody else have any updates or anything they'd like to discuss? Alrighty. Well, thank you everyone for showing up today and for the great conversation. Anything else you need, let me know, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Cole.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks
Thanks,
for
everyone.
coming, Dee, and everybody.
Bye-bye now.
Nice to see you all briefly.
Thank you.